In the dead of night, a shroud of silence suddenly descended across the world, as if the sky itself had decided to swallow its own light. No warning, no warning signs, just darkness, swallowing everything in its path. Cities that once shimmered with relentless motion were instantly reduced to mere shadows, silhouettes against the void. Streets that teemed with life moments before now sat silent and empty, save for the haunting echoes of distant sirens and muffled shouts. The world woke up to the darkness that blinds, unprepared and bewildered. People in homes glued to their screens, suddenly rendered useless, faced the alien experience of complete invisibility. Lights flickered and died. Within seconds, the comforting glow of modern life dissipated. Minutes later, the chaos began. Doors were yanked open, desperate hands fumbling in the dark for flashlights, candles, anything that might pierce the black abyss. But even these small efforts seemed feeble against the vast, faceless obscurity. In the streets, panic rippled like a stone skipping on a still pond. Individuals froze, instinctively clutching at their loved ones, eyes darting wildly, trying to catch some outline of what was around them. The cacophony swelled, shouts, screams, the crashing of falling objects, the hurried footsteps of those fleeing, seeking safety. Memories of safety crumbled into raw survival instinct. No one knew what had caused it, whether it was a massive outage, a cosmic anomaly, or something far more sinister. The very fabric of their reality stretched thin, threatening to tear apart. Inside homes, families clung to each other, trembling with a mix of fear and confusion. Children's cries pierced the darkness, small voices pleading for reassurance, searching for a parent's embrace. Lights out, they whispered in the dark, their words trembling with uncertainty. While some adults sought calm within themselves, others unraveled, calling friends, desperately trying to restore some sense of normalcy, or simply sitting in silence, listening for clues in the brutal silence. In the city streets, the chaos was palpable. Cars that once smoothly navigated avenues now sat stranded, their drivers lost and shouting into the night. Streetlights, that sole sentinels of stability, had vanished. Their absence rapidly turned the urban landscape into an endless abyss. No navigation, no markers, just the eternal question: where is the way out? Some turned on their phone flashlights, but the screen's glow was too weak and fragile, easily snuffed out by the darkness or drained by the panic-driven demand for light. People's minds spiraled into fear's depths. With their sight gone, they relied solely on sound, touch, and instinct. The rhythmic pounding of their own hearts, loud in the silence, became deafening. Every sudden sound, a falling object, a distant shout, a hurried footstep, became a threat or a signal of danger ahead. The darkness created an overwhelming sense of vulnerability, as if the very ground beneath them was shifting, unpredictable, threatening to swallow them whole. In the midst of this sudden void, human nature revealed itself starkly. Some sought connection, gripped the hands of strangers, shared words of comfort amidst the chaos. Others recoiled in terror, retreating into corners, clutching objects they considered protectors, knives, flashlights, or even empty hands. Some hurriedly tried to light fires or candles, not knowing that a flicker of flame in such darkness might become a beacon for unseen threats lurking in the shadows. A woman in a downtown apartment clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face as her eyes adjusted minimally but failed to find any visual detail. Her mind raced through memories, past fires, storms, past moments of chaos, and she asked herself, how do we survive when our senses betray us? How do we move forward when every sense, save perhaps instinct, is stripped away? Every scream, every cry, Every plea felt amplified in the absence of sight, yet she found an odd clarity in the chaos. A primal, desperate need to cling to hope, to each other, to the flickering ember of resilience hidden within. Meanwhile, on the city outskirts, others lost themselves to primal instincts, rushing to synthesize a plan amid the pandemonium. People gathered in clusters, whispering theories and attempts at coordination. A street vendor lit a candle, trying to illuminate their mismatched faces, giving a fragile sense of warmth amidst the blackness. Someone in the distance screamed after a shelf toppled in a store, igniting a chain of panic and chaos. The blackness was not just visual, it became a silence within, a void that threatened to swallow reason, hope, and humanity itself. In these initial moments, one question echoed relentlessly through the darkness. How do we cope when our vision is gone? How does the mind respond to complete sensory deprivation? Fear, undoubtedly, reigned supreme, an instinctual predator lurking within, ready to consume rational thought. But there was also resilience, embers smoldering in the stories of those who refused to surrender to the darkness. The darkness was a test, a brutal ordeal stripping away the illusions of control everyone had taken for granted. It pushed humanity to its primal edges, forcing it to discover how much of itself could endure beyond sight. The chaos was only beginning, the true depths of human desperation yet to reveal themselves. But amid that chaos, stories of faint hope flickered like distant stars in a universe plunged into night. Perhaps, for now, their survival depended not on seeing, but on feeling, listening, and trusting each other. Because when every vision is snuffed out and only darkness remains, it is the human spirit, unseen, unmeasured, and often underestimated, that becomes the last beacon of light in the eternal night. A sudden blackness blanketed the city, as if the sky itself had been torn open, swallowing the sun and casting everything into an eerie, unnatural twilight. The streets, once humming with life, burst into chaos the moment the darkness fell. People roared in terror, their screams piercing the suffocating silence that quickly took hold. Buildings loomed like shadows, their windows reflecting the panic-stricken faces below, eyes wide with disbelief and dread. The ground trembled beneath their feet, an invisible force rattling the pavement and shattering what little semblance of calm remained. Vehicles screeched to a halt, drivers frantic with cold fear, unsure whether their next breath would be their last. The blaring of horns mingled with panicked shouts, creating an overwhelming symphony of chaos that seemed to echo through every alley and corner. Somewhere off to the side, a car swerved uncontrollably, spinning out of control before crashing into a lamppost, metal twisting and glass shattering like fragile dreams breaking apart under pressure. In the midst of this turmoil, a mother clutching her child's trembling hand stumbled, her face blank with terror, unable to find her voice amid the clamor. A man nearby, sweating and trembling, tried to radio for help, but his words were drowned out by the cacophony. It was as if the world had fractured, an earthquake of unknown origin, collapsing everything in its path. Emergency sirens wailed in the distance, their shrill calls competing with the screams, an attempt to pierce through the chaos that refused to settle. Amid this upheaval, some instinctual pause seemed to grip a small pocket of the crowd, an unspoken collective effort to process what was happening. Faces turned upward, searching for answers in the murky sky that refused to reveal itself. The initial panic was raw, visceral, a primal flood of adrenaline flooding every nerve. People ran blindly, desperate to find safety, to escape the invisible threat that hovered above or beneath, impossible to decipher. And yet, amidst the raw emotion and disorder, a question echoed silently through the chaos: who would rise? Who would step into the madness not with fear and trembling but with resolve? Who would become the anchor amid the disarray, the voice of calm in the storm? The scene was ripe with confusion, a vivid picture of the world unraveling, but somewhere within that turmoil, a figure began to emerge, not from the crowd, but within it. Someone whose presence, quiet but commanding, would demand attention, hold the fractured fragments of reality together, and steer the chaos into something perhaps less destructive. As the nightmarish scene persisted, the city's heartbeat pounded faster, loud in the ears of those caught in the aftermath. The initial shock was slowly giving way to a fragile semblance of order, an inevitable flicker of hope, and it was in this moment that the story would find its first glimmer. Who would be the one to step forward? Who would breathe meaning into the madness? In the shadows of fear and confusion, the answer was waiting, unspoken but undeniable. In the suffocating darkness of the aftermath, the world blankets itself in silence, broken only by faint whispers of desperation and hope, like fragile threads woven into a fragile tapestry. The first responders, those rare sparks of human resilience, move through the shadows with purpose, instincts honed by countless generations. Their movements are cautious but determined, each step driven by an unspoken understanding that survival hinges on connection, on shared effort. They reach out to others, guiding trembling hands, offering what little comfort or knowledge they can muster amid the chaos. A small group gathers in the remnants of what once was a lively town square, now a husk of crumbling buildings and tangled wire. Faces illuminated by faint glimmers of flickering flashlights or trembling candles reveal a spectrum of emotion, fear, determination, awe, united by the desperate need to forge some semblance of order from the chaos. An older man, leaning on a crutch, gestures toward a darkened horizon, pointing out the faint outline of a road shimmering in the dim light, a possible escape route. A woman with streaks of grime across her face nods in understanding, her eyes burning with purpose. Within this darkness, their collective instinct ignites, helping, guiding, forming loose alliances that transcend barriers of age, gender, or background. Each person becomes a beacon for another, a small act of kindness transforming into a silent vow to endure together. Someone finds a makeshift map, drawn on torn pieces of cloth and paper, their alliances weaving a fragile network across the shadows. It's an unspoken acknowledgement that no one can face this alone, that survival depends on their ability to adapt, to rewrite their behavior in this new, unfamiliar reality. Suddenly, a child cries out softly, fear and confusion filling the small voice. Without hesitation, a nearby woman kneels, offering a gentle hand in reassuring whispers. Her touch, tender yet resolute, becomes a small act of defiance against despair. Around them, others begin to follow her lead, sharing resources, clearing debris to discover tools or supplies. In these moments of darkness, innovation emerges from necessity. Empty jars are turned into oil lamps. Broken mirrors reflect even the faintest flicker of light to brighten the surrounding gloom. Makeshift filtering systems are devised from scavenged materials, attempting to make even the most contaminated water safe to drink. In the quiet, the first sparks of ingenuity emerge. A group lights a small fire using fallen branches and discarded fabric, an act initially driven by warmth but soon serving as a gathering point for stories and strategies. Its glow becomes a symbol of resilience, proof that hope and human ingenuity can flourish even when all seems lost. Individuals share what little they know, stories of similar past hardships, snippets of knowledge about survival. Each word a seed planting the future's possibility. Through these acts, the human instinct unfolds in its rawest form, as a relentless drive to adapt and reshape the world around us. They learn to listen more carefully, to trust their senses and each other, recognizing that, in moments of profound darkness, the brightest light is the collective compassion and ingenuity of those still standing. A young man, previously a complete stranger, volunteers to lead a small expedition toward a nearby hospital, sensing that hope and healing are still within reach. A woman starts gathering herbs from the ruins, realizing that nature's resilience might be a new ally. In the deepening shadows, new solutions take hold. Improvised shelters built from fallen timber and torn fabric, covert signals exchanged across rooftops to guide stranded survivors to safety, and communities forming within the wreckage to share resources, stories, and strength. Each act of adaptation speaks of an unyielding human spirit, a recognition that even in the deepest darkness, life finds a way not just to survive but to evolve. As dawn's faint promise filters through the fractured sky, a collective breath is held, each survivor aware that tomorrow demands even greater resilience, that their improvisations today lay the foundation for what comes next. They have learned that darkness is not just the absence of light but an opportunity, an invitation to innovate, to connect, to remember what it means to be human amid total chaos. In their silent determination, in their whispered hopes, a new chapter begins, one forged from the very abyss that nearly swallowed them. Proof that no darkness can truly erase the human spirit's insatiable will to adapt and endure. In the gray dawn, the streets are no longer silent. Their chaos echoes the crumbling foundations of a world once familiar. The air is thick with the scent of burning rubber, mixed with the desperation that hangs like a heavy fog over a city on the verge of collapse. Crowds surge through shattered storefronts, tearing through debris and treasures lost to the frenzy of looting. Music from a distant store's stereo joins the cacophony, an absurdly careless soundtrack to a society tearing itself apart, each person driven to survive, to claim what is left. Street lights flicker and die, replaced by bonfires where discarded possessions smolder. The calm, methodical order of law and service systems has exploded into chaos. The ambulance sirens are muffled by the howling of the crowd, replaced by thug-like figures staking their territories amidst the wreckage. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and emergency services are a distant memory. People tend to their wounds with scavenged supplies, desperate to cling to life amid the turmoil. Amid the anarchy, pockets of new community hubs emerge, tent cities, underground shelters, makeshift markets carved out of abandoned subway stations. These hubs are chaotic but vital, offering shelter and a fragile sense of stability. Renegades and survivors alike forge new relationships, their fragile alliances protective rather than trusting, built from necessity and a shared history of loss. Men and women, once strangers, now cling to each other for warmth and safety, their gestures and spoken promises that they will preserve something, anything, that resembles their humanity. The camera weaves through the debris-strewn streets, capturing the indifference of the dying city as it breathes its last gasp. Everywhere, signs of the old order are extinguished, replaced by new customs born from despair. A group of children plays near the ruins of a parking lot, their innocent laughter a haunting counterpoint to the devastation around them. Older survivors watch from a distance, their eyes hollow but burning with a fierce determination, a quiet rebellion against the inevitable extinction of what was lost. As night falls, the scene shifts to a clandestine gathering beneath the skeletal remains of a crumbling building. People sit around a fire, sharing stories of what once was, their voices hushed but intense, each word carrying the weight of history. They speak about new rules born out of necessity, laid down by whoever claims authority now. Looters turning into leaders, petty warlords asserting dominance, communities enforcing their own dawn-to-dusk laws. These are not the laws of civility or order but survival, rooted in power, fear, and the primal instinct to dominate or to protect. Yet, beneath this violent redistribution of power, a quiet question lingers. Can society truly reorganize amid this total blindness? Can the remnants of civilization carve out a new existence amid the ruins, or are they doomed to repeat the cycle of destruction, their humanity eroded with each act of chaos? The camera lingers on faces, some etched with anger, others with exhaustion, a few shimmering with glimmers of hope. Each tells the story of a society unraveling, yet also of a flickering desire to rebuild, to find meaning in the ashes. In the dead of night, the scene pulls back, revealing an entire city in transition, structures burned and dismantled, yet here and there, signs of resilience. A child's painted mural on a broken wall, a community garden sprouting amid the rubble, a makeshift school seeking to nurture knowledge amid chaos. These raw images speak of human resilience, of an instinct to preserve and thrive even when every system that supported life has crumbled. The narrative deepens as we focus on individuals, survivors who refuse to be defined solely by the chaos. One man, scarred and weathered, stands atop a mound, surveying the ruins. His eyes, haunted yet resolute, seem to ask if this disaster will serve as the death knell for society or its rebirth. Childhood friends, now rivals, negotiate over resources with a palpable sense of distrust. Elders tend to the wounded, silently passing on lessons etched in pain and perseverance. But amid the growing chaos, a faint glimmer of something else begins to materialize, an alternative order. A young woman, resilient and sharp-eyed, sets up a small trading post, a map with makeshift trade routes sketched out in charcoal. Her actions suggest that, even in the darkest moments, the seeds of a new society are being planted, not in grand institutions, but in the simple acts of barter, care, and shared hope. The question that haunts this night is whether this emergent order will be enough, a fragile scaffold amid the ruins, to sustain life and restore faith. Or will it be swept away by the tide of violence and greed that still roars beneath the surface? As dawn approaches once more, the city remains in flux, shattered, scarred, yet stubbornly alive. This bleak yet hopeful scene fades out, leaving viewers with an ominous sense of anticipation. Society, in its infinite capacity for destruction and renewal, teeters on the edge of oblivion and rebirth. The question hangs heavy. Amid complete blindness, will human beings find the strength to see through the darkness? Or are they destined to repeat the ancient cycle of chaos, forever chasing shadows of order that may never truly return? The streets are quiet, shadows stretching long as the evening settles over the quiet town, a subtle reminder of how fragile our sense of security truly is. Amidst this calm, stories of strangers rising to act with selfless compassion begin to emerge, weaving a tapestry of humanity that the darkness often tries to erase. In the aftermath of chaos, amid wreckage and despair, kindness becomes the unexpected weapon against despair, reshaping perceptions with each act of genuine human empathy. A young woman, her face marked by exhaustion but filled with determination, kneels beside a collapsed car. She's not a rescue worker, just a person, like so many others who found themselves in the right place at the right moment. Hearing the faint muffled cries, she instinctively rips away at the debris, calling out softly, urging calm. As bystanders gather, neighbors and strangers alike, her voice becomes a beacon of hope amid the rubble. They start to help, some pulling away broken branches and twisted metal, others handing water and blankets, forming a human chain of silent reassurance. Across the city, in the shadowed alleyways and broken streets, Rescue teams move swiftly, guided by signs of life unseen at first glance. But it's not only the professionals who step forward. Ordinary people, shop owners, students, retirees, join in the effort, their hands trembling yet resolute. A retired firefighter manually shifts bricks, refusing to be sidelined by age, his eyes shining with purpose. A teenage boy rushes medication from his neighbor's house, eyes wide but committed to doing something meaningful. These aren't acts prompted by duty alone. They stem from a deep-rooted belief in each other's worth, a collective choice to reach out when it matters most. In a community center turned makeshift shelter, volunteers work tirelessly to provide comfort, food, and solace. Faces once strangers now share stories and tears, bonded by shared adversity. Here, amidst the chaos, the simple act of sharing a warm meal, a listening ear, becomes profoundly transformative. People recount their stories, not just of loss, but of resilience, of unseen heroism, and unexpected acts of kindness that challenge the narratives spun by fear and division. And then there's a poignant moment: an elderly man, whose home was damaged but who refuses to leave, offers what little he has left to a young mother clutching her crying child. His hands tremble, not from age, but from an overwhelming sense of compassion. Those around him watch in awe, reminded that humanity's greatest strength is its capacity to give, even when faced with loss. How do such acts of kindness reshape perceptions? Perhaps it's simple but profound. They peel back the layers of cynicism we accumulate over years, revealing a core of resilience and altruism. When we see strangers risking their safety, sharing what little they have, and extending genuine concern, it challenges the narrative of indifference so often portrayed in the dark moments of history. Acts of kindness light a flickering hope into a blazing fire, illuminating the truth that even in the depths of darkness, human goodness persists. In small towns, in city streets, in moments broken by tragedy, these acts ripple outward. Children drawing pictures of hope to leave at the disaster sites, neighbors organizing cleanup efforts, strangers donating blood, and communities rallying to rebuild, not just structures but trust. These moments become lessons etched into collective memory, tests of faith in humanity's innate kindness. As night falls, the town's quiet resilience feels palpable. Lights flicker back on, not just in homes but in hearts. Stories of altruism spread, sometimes whispered, sometimes shouted, reminding everyone that the darkest days reveal the brightest acts of human spirit. It's in these acts that perceptions are rewritten, where fear, suspicion, and apathy are replaced by empathy, solidarity, and love. From the debris and ruin, new hope emerges. Not grand heroic gestures, but simple, sincere acts that remind us all of our shared humanity. These acts are echoes of better angels, a testament to our collective capacity to uplift, to protect, and to heal. Because in the aftermath of despair, kindness doesn't just help others, it transforms us. It rewires our understanding of what it means to be human. And as the community begins to rebuild, so too does a deeper belief in the resilience of soul and the enduring power of compassion. And perhaps, in the quiet aftermath, we realize that acts of kindness aren't just responses. They're declarations. That amid chaos, love still endures. That we are stronger not because of our machines or our walls, but because of the kindness we choose to extend even to strangers. These moments, fleeting yet infinite in their impact, remain etched in the collective consciousness, shaping perceptions and reminding us all that humanity's greatest acts often arise from the simplest gestures. In the darkness, these acts serve as beacons, guiding us toward a future where compassion is not the exception but the rule, illuminating the truth that we are, after all, in this together. In the dim glow of what once was, A faint hum begins, almost imperceptible at first, like the whisper of a distant memory trying to find its voice in the darkness. The shadows stretch longer and deeper, encompassing everything, yet somewhere within this abyss, there's a flicker of human ingenuity awakening, sparking a subtle yet resolute defiance against the void. A ripple of sound evolves from the silence, a delicate symphony born from the remnants of a fragmented world. It is not music, but a complex tapestry of frequencies, soft, almost inaudible at first, like the faint heartbeat of something alive struggling to survive beneath layers of darkness. It's as if the air itself carries echoes of voices, laughter, and distant machinery long silenced. These sounds are not merely auditory. They become an invitation, a whisper of what once was and what could be again through the power of technology, a testament to humanity's relentless impulse to adapt. Touch follows, an awakening of sensation in a realm where sight is lost. Hands reach out, trembling, grasping at textures that had been overlooked before, now transformed into vital tools. Smooth surfaces give way to rough carvings, offering a tactile map navigating through the shadows. Innovations in haptic technology enable a new kind of communication, allowing individuals to feel their surroundings, to sense the contours of objects and the presence of others without sight. It is immersion in a world reconstructed through touch, a silent dialogue between skin and sensation, where each surface tells its story in vibrations and pressure. And then, a new form of navigation emerges, devices that transcend vision, bending light or darkness into pathways. Portable sensors and auditory cues converge to create an almost intuitive system of guidance. Imagine a sleek device resting comfortably against the hand, its surface embedded with capable sensors that translate environmental data into deliberate, meaningful signals. A gentle tap warns of obstacles ahead, a soft tone indicates open pathways. Movement becomes a dance choreographed by unseen signals, a seamless blend of technology and human instinct that redefines independence in darkness. These innovations are more than tools. They are bridges, reconnecting people to a once familiar world now shrouded in obscurity. As the night presses on, an intricate web of innovation begins to emerge from the shadows, shining with a faint glimmer of hope. These new technological responses are not just solutions, they are acts of rebellion, affirmations of resilience. Every sound, every touch, every guiding device tells a story of minds unyielding in the face of darkness, of spirits driven to find light in the unseen. But amid these breakthroughs, a lingering question remains. Will this darkness lead to new inventions, or is it a quiet prelude to something darker yet? The shadows seem to swallow the edges of understanding, whispering of possibilities yet unrealized. Perhaps, in this void, innovation flourishes, fueled by necessity and desperation alike. Or perhaps the darkness is a reflection of what humanity fears most, that when stripped of light, we might lose ourselves entirely. Yet, for now, innovation persists, an act of defiance against the silence, a testament to the unyielding human spirit. With every step taken guided by touch and sound, new pathways are being etched into the fabric of this darkness. It's a landscape of potential, raw and uncharted, waiting for pioneers to carve out meaning amid the shadows. Whether these inventions will illuminate or further obscure remains beneath the surface, concealed in the depths of the unknown. But hope persists, a faint pulse amidst the growing night, whispering that perhaps, from this darkness, something extraordinary is born. In the suffocating stillness of the dark, the world's noise fades into an indistinct hum, an echo of what once was, or perhaps, what never truly existed. In this silence, a quiet introspection begins, unbidden yet necessary. It's here, in the depths of shadows, that a person's true self begins to emerge, unscripted, unmasked, raw. What do we learn about ourselves in this darkness? That's the question that haunts this chapter, the question that unfolds in quiet revelations and trembling truths. There was a moment, a turning point I'll never forget, a night when everything changed. She stood in her room, eyes fixed on a flickering candle. The soft glow danced across her face, illuminating lines of doubt, resolve, fears she never dared to face in the clarity of daylight. The darkness outside matched the darkness within, a mirror reflecting not just her fears, but her hopes, her disappointments, her buried strength. In that quiet, she saw herself with unfiltered honesty, no masks, no pretenses, only the fragile outline of who she was and who she could become. Transformation often begins in moments of solitude, when the noise of the world recedes, and we are forced to confront ourselves unadorned. She remembered a fragile girl who longed to escape her fears, to find meaning amidst chaos. That girl had whispered promises of change, of becoming something more. And in the quiet of the night, she realized those promises weren't just words, they were seeds planted deep within her, waiting for darkness to break open and sprout anew. Empathy, she discovered, was a mirror. The more she turned inward, the more she saw others with clarity. The pain of her own past, the wounds, the regrets, became tools to understand the suffering of others. It's in that shared darkness, those moments of vulnerability, that empathy blooms, fragile but fierce. When she looked into the eyes of someone broken, she no longer saw only their pain. She saw a reflection of her own trembling hope, her desire for redemption, her longing for connection. In the shadows, she learned that empathy doesn't diminish strength but amplifies it. It's not a sign of weakness, but a testament to human resilience. The darkest nights taught her that compassion doesn't come from a place of perfection but from admitting one's own scars. That awareness opened her heart wider, to understand that everyone, no matter how guarded or distant, carries pieces of their own darkness. Stories began to pour out. Tales of loss, of betrayal, of courage found in moments of despair. Each narrative was a mirror, a window into her own hidden truths, a reminder that we are all wandering through the night seeking the dawn. The darkness was no longer a void but a canvas, waiting for the brushstrokes of understanding and empathy. And gradually, she saw that her transformation wasn't about escaping the dark but embracing it. The shadows held lessons, secrets of resilience, whispering that even in despair, there's a potential for rebirth. That in the darkness, the soul can be stripped bare and yet find a fragile beauty in its vulnerability. The more she delved into her own fears, the clearer the path became. It was a journey of self-discovery, a labyrinth of pain and hope intertwined. She realized that her capacity for empathy grew with every encounter with her own shadows. Each moment of pain, each confession of weakness, became a stepping stone toward understanding others' pain. She recognized that her compassion was forged in the quiet crucible of darkness, emphasizing the profound truth that only through facing the depths of ourselves can we truly connect with others. Yet, there's an unsettling beauty in this awakening, a realization that the dark isn't an ending but a beginning. It's where true reflection happens, where the masks fall away, and we are confronted with our most authentic selves. The night taught her that in darkness we confront our fears, embrace our imperfections, and find the courage to change. As dawn approaches, a faint light creeps into the room, a glimmer of hope that slowly dissolves the shadows. In this fragile illumination, she sees her reflection once more, not as she was, but as she might become. Not perfect, but genuine. Not free of darkness, but at peace with it. The journey through darkness is personal, its lessons intimate. It teaches that understanding oneself isn't about denying the shadows but walking through them, acknowledging their existence, and ultimately, transforming them into strength. It's a reminder that our capacity for empathy isn't diminished by our scars, it is amplified by them. The night recedes, but its echoes linger, an everlasting reminder that within the darkest depths lies the potential for the brightest transformation. The shadows are not enemies but messengers, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. In the end, maybe that's what the night whispers. That in embracing darkness, we find the light, truth, empathy, and the quiet courage to keep moving forward, even when the path is shrouded in shadows. The darkness had lingered like a thick, suffocating shroud over the world for so long that the return of light felt almost surreal, an awakening from a nightmare too deeply ingrained to forget. As dawn broke, a fragile glow seeped through the remnants of ash and debris, tentative at first, like a whisper teasing the silence. The sky, once cloaked in oppressive shadows, now unfurled in hues of muted gold and pale blue, an unsteady promise of renewal. People emerged hesitantly from shelters, eyes blinking against the unfamiliar brightness, faces marked with grime and exhaustion yet illuminated by a newfound glimmer of hope. The air was thick with a mixture of relief and disbelief, a collective exhale after years of holding their breath. Every breath they drew seemed to carry with it the weight of survival, of stories etched in scars, of dreams deferred but not denied. Across the fractured landscape, efforts to rebuild began almost immediately. Hands, once trembling with uncertainty, now moved with purpose, lifting fallen beams, digging through the rubble, planting seeds in the cracked earth. Makeshift communities sprouted anew, huddled in tight-knit clusters, sharing what little remained of their resources, exchanging words of comfort and determination. Laughter, once a rare luxury in the depths of darkness, found its way back into conversations, a testament to the resilient spirit of those who refused to surrender to despair. In the midst of this chaos, some faced profound introspection. The darkness had stripped away the superficial, exposing the core of human fragility and strength alike. The scars, both visible and unseen, became symbols of endurance, reminders of battles fought and survived. And as the landscapes shifted from ruins to protocols of recovery, questions arose. How much of ourselves did we lose? What will we carry forward, and what must we leave behind? The process of healing extended beyond the physical. Communities organized forums to discuss their shared trauma, to forge collective strategies for mental and emotional recovery. Therapists and spiritual leaders guided the wounded through their grief. Stories of loss and resilience intertwined, becoming threads woven into the fabric of a new social fabric. Schools reopened, classrooms filled once more with eager young minds hungry for hope and knowledge. The children, untainted by bitterness, carried the resilient spark of innocence, reminding everyone that life persists, even in the face of obliteration. Yet, amid the rebuilding, questions persisted, the lingering shadows of what had been lost. The old world's comforts, its certainties, seemed like distant memories whispering in the recesses of collective consciousness. What lasting changes would this experience leave? Would a new caution shadow their steps, or would the scars serve as enduring symbols of survival, inspiring a more compassionate, aware generation? Would they remember the darkness not as a mere chapter in history but as a catalyst for transformation? The scars on the land mirrored the wounds on their souls. But from those scars, new growth emerged, tender shoots piercing through cracked pavement, a testament to an unyielding will to press forward. The process was painstaking. Setbacks appeared like ghosts from the past, threatening to undo their fragile progress. Yet, each failure became a lesson, each loss a catalyst for renewed resolve. As communities learned to adapt, their shared resilience forged bonds stronger than before, rooted in the understanding that darkness exposes weaknesses but also ignites a profound desire to rebuild better. In the aftermath, some found solace in understanding that recovery was an ongoing journey, not a destination. It was about embracing the imperfections, acknowledging the pain while moving beyond it. The experience etched into their consciousness served as a potent reminder. Darkness may overpower temporarily, but it cannot extinguish the human spirit forever. It is in the aftermath that the true essence of resilience is revealed, shining as brightly as the first dawn after an endless night. As they looked toward the horizon, a cautious optimism settled in, a recognition that the future held uncharted territories, both daunting and full of promise. The scars would remain, invisible and visible, reminding them of what was lost and of what they fought tirelessly to regain. In that fragile light, they understood that recovery was a testament not just to survival but to the indomitable will to forge a new path from the ashes of the old. And so, the world awakened, not with naive optimism, but with a hardened resolve, carrying the lessons of darkness etched into their very beings. The echoes of the darkness tried to erase them, but in the end, it merely shaped who they became. With each step forward, they built a new, more intentional, more resilient, more aware of the delicate balance between light and shadow. And as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the remnants of their world, they knew that some scars would fade with time, but others, born from that profound darkness, would serve as eternal reminders. That even in the depths of despair, the human spirit endures, relentlessly seeking the light. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over a city that had seen better days, a quiet hum of anticipation filled the air. The streets, once filled with frantic urgency and unrest, now seemed contemplative, emptied of chaos but alive with the weight of unspoken stories. In the gathering dusk, voices echoed with newfound clarity, discussions weaving together like threads in a tapestry of hope and resolve. A small gathering convened in a dimly lit community hall, the walls adorned with faded photographs, testaments to struggles endured and lessons hard won. Among them, a man in his late 40s, eyes both weary and resolute, spoke softly, yet with undeniable authority. He recounted a journey shaped by pain and awakening, emphasizing the importance of listening to those who had been silenced for too long. His words were not merely recollections but calls for change, for society to re-evaluate the structures that perpetuated division. Around him, others shared stories of personal transformation born from the chaos of days past. A young woman, once angry and disconnected, now spoke of forgiveness and understanding, revealing how facing her own biases had been pivotal in forging authentic connections. A teacher reflected on her role, acknowledging her own complicity in ingraining harmful stereotypes, and vowed to be a force for genuine empathy in her classroom. Their voices painted a picture of pain transformed into purpose, a testament to resilience and the human capacity for growth. As the evening unfolded, it became evident that these conversations had sparked more than individual epiphanies, they had ignited a movement. Those present discussed pressing policy changes, new initiatives aimed at dismantling systemic inequities and fostering community-led solutions. Town halls now became forums for marginalized voices, classrooms integrated stories of inclusion, and local governments committed to transparency and accountability. It was a collective acknowledgement that progress was neither instant nor easy, but it was possible when society chose unity over division. Yet, amid these communal efforts, personal stories of change cut deepest, lives disrupted and reconstructed by the events that once threatened to consume them. There was a man who, after witnessing the destruction of his neighborhood, dedicated himself to rebuilding not just buildings but trust. A woman who had lost loved ones in the chaos found purpose in activism, transforming grief into a relentless pursuit of justice. Their tales underscored a vital truth: that individual growth often springs from the ashes of adversity. As night fell fully, the gathering started to dissipate, but the profound impact remained in the air. The question lingered, almost haunting: how will today's realizations shape the future? The weight of history pressed upon everyone, yet within that weight lay the seeds of renewal. The day's lessons, about empathy, resilience, and the necessity of fostering inclusive communities, set a foundation for tomorrow's hopes. Walking away from the hall, one couldn't help but feel the silent promise carried in each step. This day had challenged complacency, shattered illusions of permanence, and forced society to confront its flaws openly. It was a stark reminder that progress isn't linear but a jagged, arduous climb filled with setbacks and breakthroughs alike. Yet, it also illuminated the power of collective effort, the understanding that societal change begins within individual hearts and minds. As the city's lights flickered on, casting a warm glow over streets that once echoed with despair, a deeper question emerged. Can these lessons be integrated into the very fabric of everyday life? Or would complacency and old habits threaten to undo the hard work laid down in the quiet moments shared tonight? The answer was not immediate nor clear, but the resolve was undeniable. This day, marked by honest reflection and renewed purpose, had the potential to redefine futures. It was a turning point, a moment of reckoning that could ripple outward, inspiring new perspectives and inspiring others to look inward. The stories of pain and hope intertwined, forming a narrative of perseverance that would endure beyond the shadows of darkness. In the silent aftermath, as the city settled into a restless sleep, one truth remained unmistakable: lessons learned are only the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead, carrying that knowledge forward, living it openly, and transforming society step by step. For in these lessons, buried beneath the scars of struggle, lies the blueprint for a future where empathy and understanding are not just ideals, but everyday realities. And as dawn approached, the city held its breath, awaiting, perhaps, what tomorrow's new perspective would bring. In the quiet aftermath of the darkness, a fragile dawn begins to seep through the remnants of night. The sky, once obscured by shadows, now blushes with delicate hues of pink and gold, whispering promises of renewal. It's as if the very fabric of the world has paused to breathe, to reconsider itself. The silence speaks volumes, an echo of what once was and what could be again. The air, tinged with the scent of awakening, carries a subtle, almost divine stillness that invites reflection and hope. Visualize a landscape transformed, not just by light but by an awakening consciousness. Fields once barren appear alive with a new vitality, flowers bloom where despair once reigned, and trees stretch their branches upward, reaching for the sky as if defying the silence that once deafened them. These images dissolve into scenes of people, strangers, now friends, walking among the restored earth, their faces glowing with a mixture of awe and gentle resolve. There's a universality here, a shared understanding that from the depths of darkness, a greater light can emerge, if only we dare to see beyond the shadows. The camera lingers on children playing freely, their laughter piercing through the quiet like a symphony of hope. In their innocence, there is a profound truth: that a world rebuilt on empathy, kindness, and resilience is not just imaginable but inevitable. A mother gently cradles her child, whispering stories of a time when darkness tried to silence hope and memory, but was ultimately overcome by a collective will to remember, to rebuild. Their presence symbolizes renewal, the undeniable power of hope rooted in love and shared humanity. Now, turn the scene to a cityscape, once fractured and shadowed, now bathed in morning light. People gather in open spaces, exchanging stories of survival and lessons learned, conversations that weave together threads of compassion and understanding. Here, faith is rekindled, not in divine beings but in one another. Each story shared, each gesture of kindness, becomes a cornerstone of this reimagined world. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest hour, the essence of humanity refuses to be extinguished. This new world is not oblivious to its scars, rather, it bears them with dignity. Every cracked street, every scarred tree becomes a monument, not to tragedy, but to what was endured and transcended. There is a sense that these wounds do not define the future but serve as poignant reminders of what humanity is capable of overcoming. It's in this acknowledgement that true hope is rooted. Hope that darkness was a moment of awakening, not a permanent state of despair. As the narration deepens, the scene shifts inward. The camera focuses on a solitary figure, a survivor, perhaps, standing atop a hill overlooking the horizon. Their eyes reflect a mixture of gratitude and cautious optimism. They speak softly, voice carrying across the silence. What if this darkness was a moment of awakening? The question hangs in the air, unanswered yet profoundly felt. Could it be that the shadows, with all their chaos and fear, were necessary? That they challenged us to look inward, to reconnect with our deepest truth? In this reflection lies a transformative truth, that darkness reveals the light within us. It exposes the fragility of our existence but also ignites the strength we didn't know we possessed. The scars of the past become lessons, not weights to carry, but stepping stones toward a future more compassionate and aware. The very concept of rebuilding takes on new meaning, no longer merely restoring what was, but creating something better, something rooted in empathy, understanding, and shared human fragility. The scene swells with images of communities rebuilding bridges, literal and metaphorical, across divides of race, culture, and belief. Music and dance emerge as universal languages, binding people together in joy and solidarity. In this visual symphony, hope is a living, breathing force, an act of collective will to refuse despair and to forge a world reimagined from the ashes. It's more than hope, it's a profound renewal of purpose, an understanding that from destruction can come the seeds of profound growth. This world is imperfect, yet beautifully so. The imperfections no longer threaten but anchor the new reality, not as flaws but as symbols of resilience and authenticity. Every step forward is a conscious choice, a reaffirmation that while darkness may visit again, it will never define the story. Instead, it will serve as a reminder of what to cherish and protect, the empathy that unites us, the kindness that heals, and the hope that sustains us even in the most challenging times. As the narration winds down, the camera pulls back, revealing a vast landscape, an open book awaiting new chapters. The skies are clearer now, yet alive with the possibility of more storms and revelations, reminding us that life is an ongoing journey of renewal and reflection. The final voice echoes softly, a gentle yet powerful call to action. Perhaps all darkness is a moment of awakening. And in that awakening, we find the true essence of who we are meant to be, together, resilient, and hopeful for what's yet to come. In this quiet, luminous dawn, lies the promise that no matter how deep the darkness, the human spirit is capable of rising, reforming, reimagining, to create a world where empathy reigns and hope never truly fades.